You start with a photopositive film printed on a transparent base. Then you cut a piece of carbon tissue. Photogravure is a photomechanical process of etching a photograph into a copper plate by using traditionally aquatint, which is a powdered rosin, so that it will print in a continuous tone method. Sensitized in potassium dichromate. Then it's dried flat against the surface for a certain amount of time at a certain humidity and a certain temperature. It is then peeled off of that surface and placed in a box where it has to set and reach equilibrium for about a half hour. We're prepping a copper plate and chemically cleaning it. So it's chemically clean now. Cranking the aquatint box, which is powdered rosin inside of a box, placing the copper plate into the aquatint box so that dust can fall on top of the copper plate. Now we're going to melt that dust with an alcohol flame. Then you expose that carbon tissue in a vacuum frame under ultraviolet light with the photopositive in contact to it, which hardens the gelatin subsequent to the density ranges that it transmits in UV light. Then you dampen that gelatin sheet and you will attach it, lay it down onto a chemically clean rosin aqua tinted plate of copper. That's dried for about a half hour. And then that is put into a bath of hot water where it is termed developed, where we melt the gelatin, it releases the paper. We peel the paper off, and then we wash away all the soluble gelatin that wasn't exposed by the ultraviolet light. What this leaves us with is a gelatin stencil in negative of the photopositive image. We dry that then overnight, usually, but at least 6 to 8 hours. And then we stop out the edges of the copper with an acid resist, usually a varnish. Then we etch the plate in a series of 3 to 4 baths of ferric chloride with specific gravity amounts of water added to increase the amount of water which will penetrate the thicker amounts of gelatin that are in the image. So it's really starting to etch now. Hills and valleys, which are a result of the dust of rosin being melted onto the copper and being resistant to acid. Once the plate has been etched, the excess gelatin is washed off the plate. The remaining aquatint is washed off with a solvent. The plate is trimmed down to the size of the image. The edges of the plate are beveled on an angle so that they won't puncture the paper or the blankets. The plate is then steel-faced. We apply steel to the surface of the copper by means of an electrophase vat. Ink is spread onto a palette, an oil-based etching ink. It's spread onto the warm plate and wiped with a stiff cheesecloth. Paper that has been dampened in water is then blotted, and the dampness of the paper also gives it the flexibility to be pushed into the plate. And when you peel the paper off, actually you're pulling that ink out of the plate. And that's a photogravure. That's the classic dust grain copper plate photogravure that we utilize at Two Palms.